About what I want to share today related to a couple of areas that I think are the biggest opportunities for us. And the first one is you guys have all done a good job. I asked Giuseppe to send me. I know I think Chris has done this. Ryan's done this. I think Jacqueline's done this a little bit, is trying to share some of the MBS highway slides that Barry's put together as presentation material for real estate agents. And what really came out of the event that I was at in Austin was, and Barry Habib was there, a couple of guys came up and did presentations. Josh Metal was one of them. And then another, a guy that's not in my group, but a really good guy, Pete Metz in California, did a presentation with Barry Habib. So it was kind of a Rene Rodriguez style exercise where these guys started to present and Barry was like correcting them. So that took Barry's a great presenter. And the point of one of the key takeaways was how much Barry prepares for presentations and how much time Barry Habib puts into doing a presentation and then refining it, constantly trying to improve it, and records everything. And then as soon as the presentation's over, knows that he's going to make changes to it. So that's a good takeaway for all of us, I think, is that, you know, we can always get better by going back and watching the film and seeing where we can make an improvement in our process. But one of the key takeaways was that there's a lot more information on those slides that we're showing people, with all of the data on inflation and housing and pricing and everything else. And it really came down to the message. The key takeaway was the media is our biggest enemy, and it's the consumer's biggest enemy. I don't know if enemy is the right word, the biggest deterrent to people being motivated enough to move forward. And so I'm going to share some information that I'm zenithifying the slide presentation, some of the stuff that Giuseppe shared with me, his slide deck. I took a few slides out of there, and then some other slides from Pete Metz's presentation. But my takeaway was, like, you could do 2 hours with the real estate agents. Not that you would do 2 hours, but 2 hours with real estate agent presentation on just a very few number of slides. And so I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Hang on. Because and when I say the media is the biggest deterrent, I'm referring to the fact that the media isn't, the media is not our friend when it comes to what the consumer is thinking. And I'm not talking about you should buy a house. Ignore what the media says. It's a great time to buy a house.
You went dark on us.
Can't hear you.
Media was great when rates were low, though. Can you hear me? Like free advertising. Can you hear me now? Yeah. The heck is the presentation from? I apologize. I thought this was already loaded. Yeah, this is not it. Crap. Well, I don't know what the hell I did with that presentation.
That's embarrassing.
A little bit.
Anyone have any wins for the week?
I have a win. My best friend does 40 million in real estate every year. He's a badass. He's been doing this for a really long time. And we finally had a real conversation. I know it seems like it should have happened way a long time ago, but we finally had a real conversation about how we're going to work more together and how I'm going to be in more of his events, and he's going to make a real attempt to get me in front of more people. He like knows everybody in real estate at Remax and CRS and everything. So he's literally like the prom king of all these organizations. So I'm really hopeful that it's going to lead to good things, guys.
It's a little win.
Huh?
Takes time.
That's a little win, but we'll count it.
I know. Well, he's introducing me to all the CRSs in Denver on June 7th. So pretty
He's
stoked.
still using his crappy lender though.
So I figured out why he was using that crappy lender and what's going on there. And he's not using him. It's his team who wants free leads. So that guy is buying the website for them, and it's just lead generation. And so he's only contributing $700 a month. And he's like, if you want to take it over, you can, but it's just internet lead generation. And they just have to call from all these random numbers. So it's not legitimate. And he's like, I don't even make the phone calls. I don't participate in it. So his business is all referral and repeat business. So that's where I'm going to be more front and center, I think.
But his team does online leads.
Yeah, it's very confusing. And he says he hates it. So I don't know. I think hopefully him saying it out loud yesterday is another reinforcement that it's not the right way to do it. So I don't know.
Big teams always seem to do online leads, right? I mean, the
Gotta
owner of the team, they have repeat and referral business and they do their business, but you got to feed all these people. So they always turn to online. Seems like.
Well, I'm gonna have to steal Giuseppe's presentation here for a minute, because the slides that I wanted to focus on are here. So there's just a few slides that I think that you need for this presentation. What I'm gonna do is I've already started building this presentation because I want to deliver it myself, and I'll do a recording of it so that I can share it with everybody, and then obviously I'll share the slides with everyone as well. But I just think there's only a few slides that we should focus on, and it's something around this idea of you're seeing this information crisis, not a housing crisis slide, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I think this is a great slide that talks about this housing crisis. I think you can make or what people perceive to be it's a bad time to buy, and it isn't. There isn't anything wrong with buying a house. And so what I decided to do this morning is I've used ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT to go find me some quotes from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s that talk about why it was a bad time to buy a house in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And I've got this is like, it's hilarious, some of the stuff that I was finding, like, oh, this is going to be great stuff. The point being is that some housing. What you could do with these slides is at the beginning of a presentation, talk about how we're letting the media control the narrative, and the narrative is scaring home buyers. And this has been going on since the beginning of time. Like when you go back to 1970. So the first quote I found was from the New York Times on December 10th, 1978. High interest rate, high prices, and low inventory levels have combined to create a difficult situation for home buyers, particularly first-time home buyers. Now, before you told them where that quote was printed, you could go, when do you think that was? Like, it was from the New York Times. Oh, and it was recent. Like, actually, it was from 1978, right? There was another one from 1979, housing crisis or housing bubble or a buyer's market. Currently, there's a high inventory of unsold homes. This is obviously there's not a high inventory, particularly in the higher price market. There's some ones for the high interest rates of recent years have priced many people out of the market for new homes and reduced the demand for existing home, causing prices to stagnate or even fall. That was from 1979. So there's like, you could just, what you could do in the presentation is just one after another, show them another without showing them what year it was, talk about we got to portray the media as the problem that we're not solving for our customers, because I don't think we're doing a good enough job of explaining to our customers what's really going on. And I don't think buying a home, I don't know quite how to get this out, but I don't think buying a home is strictly a financial decision, but the media makes it one. It's not just a financial decision. When Lori and I bought our first home, I wasn't thinking about how much prices are going to rise and fall, but it was 1986 and there wasn't a million places to get information. There was the newspaper and there was, 3 networks on TV that I could get information from. And that was it. And so I think that we're not doing a good enough job of making sure that we can get that information out. So I think this slide or a slide like that, and then really Josh Metal and then both Metal and then Barry Habib came up, and you could spend hours on these. You could spend an hour on both of these slides and just talk about what this is and what this means to people. So the housing formation, the drop in housing formations, the drop in housing completions, an excess of completions compared to the number of household formations, and how that's changed and what that's created for us, and why consumers need not worry because I think people are afraid to buy a house because they're like, well, I think prices are going to come down and I want to wait for rates to go lower. And the information is, and then you go to a slide like this, which is like, look, it doesn't matter when you buy the house. You just need to buy a house. If your reasons for not buying a house are financial, you're worried, not financial, but you're worried about the house losing value, this is all the evidence that you need. And here's why 2007 to 2011 isn't going to happen again. Because 2007 to 2011 happened for 2 specific reasons: really loose lending standards that created a mortgage meltdown, and people bought homes without putting any money down. There was no equity in the homes, and so they lost. So otherwise people would have sold their houses and we wouldn't have had this. We wouldn't have had a glut of inventory that sat on the market and prices going down if people had equity in their homes. Because today, if a consumer found themselves in that situation, they would just sell their house and take their equity and pay off all their bills, right? So this is the message that I think we need to figure out. And really, all the rest of this stuff, it's good information when you look at, this is probably not a bad slide. Housing stays strong through recessions, but I don't think that we need to talk a lot about mortgage rates and recession. We know rates are going to go down. What we have to do is figure out a way to get the consumer, or to get the real estate agents to give us the opportunity to share this information with clients individually. And I think that's where you guys that are active on social media, that put information out there, could get a lot of mileage from focusing on why this is key, and then talking about it's more than just a financial decision. It's a family decision. It's a where do I want to live decision. It's a where do I want to raise my kids decision. It's a where do I want to experience my life decision, and the holidays and all the things that this represents. And to me, the appreciation is a bonus. It's not the reason to buy. It isn't. So you don't buy, I don't think anybody buys a house so that they can make money. I don't think that's the overriding decision. I think they buy a house, unless they're investing, I think they buy a house because they want a place to live. And that's what Lori wanted. I'm telling you that when Jacqueline was born, Lori was like, we need a house. Like, yeah, I can't, I can't buy, we can't buy a house. Well, we bought a house because Lori just like, well, we're buying a house. And Lori's driving around the neighborhoods all over town I'm like going, okay, I found the house I want. Like, that's exactly how that happened. She goes, I found the house, come see this house. And that's what happened. We bought a house that's like, I didn't want the house. I took my dad to the house. And he's like, oh, he goes, yeah, this is nice. I go, I hate this. I don't want to buy it. And he's like, what? I go, I don't want to buy this. I think it's an ugly house. And he's like, dude, it's your wife wants the house. You're at work all day. Buy the house and shut up. And it's like, oh yeah, I guess so. And so I bought the house. So we bought the house. And I didn't make a ton of money on that house. I bought it in 1986. We sold it in 1992. I don't know what the appreciation. Let's go back to 86 to 92. 86 prices went up 10%, so I'm sure I paid a lot then. But 87, they went up 8, 7, and 4. But I bought a brand new home, and the builder, so prices kind of went flat. The builder was doing same house, same development, just a little further away. You got your front yard, the house was a little bit cheaper than what I paid. It kind of pissed me off. And so when we sold it I think we sold in 92, and yeah, we barely made money on it. And we put the money down on the next house, and you didn't think about it like that. You didn't think, I really think consumers today are more focused on this than ever. But it's not the reason. It becomes the reason, and I think we can do a better job, and we need to help our realtors do a better job of explaining what's the real reason people buy homes. It isn't to make money. It's because they want a home. They want they want to raise their family in homes. And so I think that we could do a better job. Again, I think that's the opportunity. So it's going to be really fun, because I got a total of I got 10, 11, 12. I got 12 quotes from ChatGPT from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s that you can use, because the media always badmouths housing because it's the headline. They're just selling advertising, right? So that was anybody have any feedback or takeaways?
On that prize fighter slide, one of the things that Barry had mentioned that seemed to
Betting against the champ.
Sorry?
The betting against the champ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that Barry said that seemed to resonate well with the people on these webinars was that I guess one of the angles the media is taking is that after, you want to pull the slide up really quick? I don't think it'll make more sense, but after a period of high appreciation, the media, one of the angles is it's just a given that prices are going to fall. Because they'll point to 2002, 3, 4, 5, right? High appreciation years. And so they're saying it's a given that prices are going to fall, and look at 2020 and 2021, high appreciation. So of course they're going to fall. And so you can actually point them, go back, this presentation starts off talking about inflation. And so when you look at high inflationary times, which is like right after World War II, 44, 45, 46, 47, right? Super high appreciation rates. There's no drop off after that. You look at the late 70s, right? 77, 8, 9, high appreciation rates, high inflation rates. Inflation then comes down. There's no drop off in prices. So it's not a given that prices are going to fall just because things went up quickly. Inflation just goes up with time.
Right.
Prices in the 1980s, right, were a lot higher than the mid 70s for houses, for a gallon of milk, for everything. But people earn more. They never went back to the 1970s prices.
Well, and here's what the media does with this information that's really insidious. And this is what you have to point out. It's like, you see, so if you look at 1980, let's start in 1985. Prices went up 7% over 1984's prices. And then in 1986, they went up 10% over 85. In 87, it was 8% over 87. In 88, 89, and 90, they receded 1%. So from whatever the price was, if you started at 100 grand, you weren't still at 100 grand in 1990 of 1985, right? So you had all that appreciation, and then the value dropped 1%. It didn't. They make it sound like, oh, everybody's lost. Like, no, the value. Okay, so if I started at 100 and I'm at 110, I lost $1,100 on that house the next year. Big deal. It isn't like, because I think that's what, so we just had, the problem that we have is that we have that 2007 to 2011 has got everybody freaked out. And we all know there's just that is not coming. That is not in our future at all, unless something, obviously dramatic happens with something geopolitical. The recession isn't going to do it. And we are going to have a recession. And housing stays strong in recession. So I think that's the message that you can use.
Hey, Dave.
Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe it's easier for us that worked through 2008, 9, 10, right? but maybe if someone was on this call and they weren't in the business, maybe we can give some pointers about like, hey, how do you explain that? Why was that different? It's just like 3 or 4 bullet points, right? That I touch on, and you remember.
What are you saying? What are you using?
Well, I'm using that, there was all the exotic mortgages, right? So no income verification, no down payment. We had people coming to us that bought 10 rental properties with no money down. You could do that on subprime loans, right? So you couldn't even get an FHA loan. Your credit score was 500. You filed for bankruptcy a week ago. You can go buy 10 houses with no money down, no income verification, right? So there was all of that. There was no equity in homes because people put no money down. And so what happens to your neighborhood or your condo complex, whatever the comps are, if no one has any money and just one person gets relocated for work to another place, they can't pay the realtors, they have to do a short sale. And now that becomes a comp, right? And so that just led to like a downward spiral. Matt George back then was saying, foreclosures were the market. Like it wasn't like there was 10 normal sales in one foreclosure. There was 9 foreclosures in one normal sale. So it was all those things that now there's no way that could happen again because the average person in the US has like $300,000 of equity. So if you lost your job, you can't do forbearance, you used all your money, your family can't help. Are you going to give the house back to the bank and let them foreclose on you? That means the bank keeps the $300,000. No, you're just going to call your realtor and sell the house, pocket the 300, go rent someplace and figure out the next chapter of your life. So those things are the reasons why, like, it's impossible that what happened then is going to happen again right now because home equity, everyone has home equity and no one did then. And half the people that bought then really would never even have qualified for a loan at this point. Like right now there are, right? Chris showed me this one bank. What's the name of the bank that does the 20% down loan?
Oh, it's Change Wholesale, but you have to put 20% down.
Yeah, exactly. So
and 720 credit score. So.
Yeah, so there are banks already that are doing basically no income verification loans, but it's 20% down. It's not no money down with someone with a 500 credit score that couldn't pay their cell phone bills on time. Now they go buy 10 houses.
Yeah, we were doing
It's
stated
just
income.
So different.
Stated income, 100% financing investor deal, investment house. It's crazy, just crazy. So
that wouldn't be nice.
It was insane. It was
Yeah.
like
PSCR loans,
Right.
right? Those are like no income qualifying, but I haven't looked into them. I know Ryan did a call with a realtor recently. Is it 20% down? Like you can't do that with 5% down or anything like that. So you got to have skin in the game. If you have skin in the game, you're not going to walk away from the investment.
And I think I don't remember who it was, Diana maybe. Someone the other day on Barry's video said like delinquency rates for people that are 90+ days late is like 1% right now. So
that was a very lengthy 3 bullet points, but just distill that down because people are going to ask you if you go through that slide, well, why isn't it like 2008? And that's it. Like those are the reasons. People can sell now if they want, and they don't have to worry about doing a short sale or a foreclosure.
Well, coupled with the fact, and going back to the slides that I'm not showing the slides anymore, but coupled with the fact that in 2008, 2005, the completions were higher than the household formations. And in 2006, they were like double household formations. The completions were double household formations. And then 2007, they were like 2.5 times household formations. So like there's too much inventory. There's just far, far too much inventory. Prices had to drop. And then household formations and completions leveled out 2010, 11, 12, 13, and now it's flipped and it's gone the other way. There's more formations than completions.
Does everyone
Far
know
more.
what a formation is? Household formation?
Does everybody understand what a formation is?
Okay, so a household formation is like, so Maureen and I have 3 kids. They all live at home. We're one household. When they move out, whether they're renting or buying a house, they're living someplace else. They're creating another household. So we're gonna go from 1 to 4 households eventually, hopefully. They don't stay here forever. Right, so that's a household formation. So I never, on those presentations, I was debating, like, do I talk about why there was such a drop in birth rates in 1973, which led to a huge drop of people turning 33 years old, the average age of a first-time buyer in 2006. I didn't talk about that because I didn't want it to get all political, but you know, when you look at that chart, you can have that. I've had that conversation with realtors, and they're like, I can't believe that. That's crazy. That makes so much sense. So
again, I came away going, we don't have an inventory problem, because it goes back to guys, we don't have much inventory since 2018. We've been having these discussions since 2017 and 18. This started when rates were relatively low and like going, there's more home buyers. This has been coming for a while. I mean, you can see, because in 2017, completions were below formations, and they've been like that since 2016, completions were higher than formations, and it's been the opposite ever since. So it started in 2017. It seems worse because rates were so low, and we had like, it seems worse, I think. And now it's like everybody's worried, like, oh, it's going to be, because the media keeps talking about there's going to be a housing bubble. There's a housing bubble. It's like, oh yeah, there is not going to be a housing bubble. We just aren't going to have it. They were right. The one time it was right, the only quote that I pulled up was the housing market is experiencing an unprecedented run-up in prices, with many experts warning of a bubble. Low interest rates and lax lending standards have made it easy for people to buy homes that they can't really afford, and many are taking on risky adjustable rate mortgages. That was accurate, and that was December 20th, 2004. The only accurate quote I could find out of the 12 quotes. That's the only accurate one I could find, and it was right. And we were wondering too. We're like, God, this is fucked up. What are we doing? And you know, you couldn't, you know, you didn't want to, if you didn't do the loan, somebody else is going to do the loan. So just a different time, just an interesting thing. So let's switch gears a little bit, because I want to talk about, Giuseppe, you forwarded me an email from one of the loan officers in your group that he's sending out to his database of clients regarding credit card balances, HELOC rates, and car payments. And I think there's an opportunity here for you to connect with your database of clients to let them know what's really going on. I think there's probably plenty of refinance business opportunities, but your customers aren't going to reach out to you. I mean, I think to some degree they will, and the more this information starts to make it into the media, the more you might begin to hear from people. But we're approaching $1 trillion. Jay found that slide. We're approaching $1 trillion in credit card debt. Credit card rates are in the 20s, high teens, low 20s. And car loan payments are $800 to $1,000 to $1,200. And then HELOC rates are, 11% HELOC rate. I don't know why people are doing them. I'm like, are you serious? You want to pay 11% interest on a HELOC? Okay, I wouldn't do it. That's just a crazy number. And so I think there's an opportunity for you to pursue that. We could start pulling some refinances out of your existing database just by having that conversation that here's what's going on. And I think, Giuseppe, do you still have that email?
yeah.
Want to read it?
Can I just forward it to everyone?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
send to
forward
the
it.
group.
And then
You're
you
gonna
can-
like send it out to everyone that closed before 2020, G, or maybe
I haven't sent it out, so I mean.
or 21, I guess.
I don't know that I mean, we could do it. You could do a broadcast of this. I don't know how effective a broadcast would be, but what do you think, G?
Just so on our coaching call, Tim was talking about some software. I don't remember the name. You probably remember it, because that you can somehow, it can tell you the credit card balances of everyone in your database. So you
Boomerang.
can target down the list, right?
Might be- Are you talking about sales boomerang?
What?
Sales boomerang?
No, it was something that you guys talked about at your retreat. I can look it up. But there's something out there that can do that supposedly. I'm trying to find it, but, or you could blast it out to everyone, but it's like a set, what they were trying to get across, it's a sensitive topic because people aren't going to be like, yeah, I got a shit ton of debt and I really can't afford it. And it's embarrassing. So, but, when you have the conversation, they're like, well, I don't want to give up my 3% rate, but like, well, you have a 3% rate, but you got an 23%, $50,000 balance on a credit card. Why don't we do the average rate on everything, or $1,000 payment on a car loan? Let's look at the average rate, let's look at the payments, then take the savings, apply them to the new mortgage and see where you're at. And most of the time they're going to be ahead, but just getting people to raise their hand and have that conversation.
So MBS Highway mentioned yesterday I think it was yesterday or the day before, that they're going to be doing on Monday a demonstration on how to use the debt consolidation tool so I would highly recommend people watch that. I think they're doing a class. I don't know if they're doing a class on it or if it's just going to be part of the update, but anything that you can do this is what we do. This is where you can really help your clients. And again, nobody, to Giuseppe's point, they're not going to be all loud and proud about having a bunch of debt. It's embarrassing to a lot of people that they find themselves in that situation because, and you saw the savings, we've seen the slides where they showed the savings rates and how those have plummeted now. Savings rates were climbing during COVID because there was no place to spend your money and you were getting all these stimulus checks. That's gone away now. They don't have anything. The savings is gone. Credit card balances are high. Car loan payments are high. And then, HELOC rates are high. So these rates on HELOCs are, based on everything the Fed's doing. So there is an opportunity there to really help. I mean, you could pull out 1 or 2 transactions a month for all of us. It would make a significant difference in our income and our volume. So keep that in mind. I'll try to get Giuseppe forwarded that email out. Did you find it?
Yeah, I just forwarded it.
All right. So just, I don't know. I don't know about the effectiveness of that email. You guys know your database better than I do. And staying close to your database is the key, though. There's clients, and just letting people know, like, hey, if you or anyone right, it's that kind of a message. And maybe a BombBomb video to go with that. Just say, hey, this is something that's really becoming an issue. If you know anybody that needs help with this, I would be happy to consult with them and do the analysis to show them, if they. You take $1,000 a month off of somebody's debt load, it's significant, right? Because I think that's the kind of savings that somebody could potentially see, even though you're going to trade in your, let's be honest, not everybody has 2 3/4 interest rates, right? So it wasn't like everybody got a sub 3% rate, but people are in the 3s. They're and going from 3 to 6.5, but eliminating $1,000 a month in cover. I can sell that all day. Like, let me just show you the math here, people. And so that's a big deal.
I think we just need rates to come down a little bit further because a cash out refinance at 6.5 is probably 3 points.
I just priced
that
it,
high?
actually. If you got
I mean,
25% equity,
It's
7
1 for purchase. So, especially with the new LLPA changes.
Yeah, if you have 25% equity, it's 7.3 with no points, and then 6.6 is 70, like 80 bips.
So if and it just comes down to doing the analysis.
Well, and has
Deciding
anyone
if
seen
finding-
the MBS debt consolidation tool? Because I mean, it's pretty easy to build it in Mortgage Coach too, but I haven't seen the MBS one yet.
I have not. I'm planning on watching that.
Yeah.
Everybody says it's better than the Mortgage Coach one. So I don't know. I'd be worth obviously taking a look at it. So
It's
Probably
moderately
because
cleaner.
you could put like the interest rates of everything of all the debt you have in there, where Mortgage Coach you can't.
Yeah, it's a little bit more concise.
So yeah, I agree with G. It's a little tough. I've ran some numbers on some people trying to combine a first and a second when we had to do first and seconds because jumbos weren't around in like all of 2020 basically. And I ran the numbers and it's still, I think it's like mid fives, yeah, but sixes and sevens, it still doesn't quite make sense because, 70% of their mortgage is still at 3 instead of, so.
Yeah.
But it will. I mean, I do think it will. I think it just needs a few more months, another Fed rate increase, and
And
Yeah.
people are asking for it too. I
Well,
mean,
don't
People
discount
that
the
did
fact,
first and seconds want to get rid of that second at the interest rate that it's at right now.
don't
Yeah.
discount the fact that you, just by having the conversation and you can set a new target rate for them, right? So just having the conversation like, yeah, when it gets to here, I want to do it.
and that's what I did. I'm like, yeah, I put a ideal target rate in column 3, and it was like it's always like 5, something like that. Because those HELOC rates aren't going to shoot down pretty quickly. If the Fed
No,
kind
they're
of
not.
holds where they're at, but then inflation comes down, I think we can see actual 30-year fixed mortgage rates come down, but the Fed rate kind of hang up a little higher for a while. So we might get a good little opportunity there. So
All right, everyone, it's almost 9:45. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for the shares and have an awesome day. Let's get to 60. Bye.